What's up, everybody? Armchair Quarterbacks here for another Week 10 preview. On this one, we have My Chubb is Broken versus You're on Mahomes Kid. That is Manny versus Michelle. So currently, again, it's Wednesday night. Let's take a look here who Manny's starting. Currently, Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Deontay Johnson, Joe Mixon, Rashad White, TJ Hawkinson, Nico Collins, and Jahan Dotson. So what are you seeing here with Manny's team in some of his matchups?
Big thing with Manny's team here is a lot of these players that were kind of busting during the beginning of the season have all come out together.
Yeah.
So they've all decided to boom together, which is, typically it's, we've seen a lot of the teams not do that. It's kind of a mix.
Mm-hmm.
I think he scored almost 150 last week.
Yeah, it was just shy. I think it was just under 1 point shy of 150.
Yeah, it was 149 point whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I was telling you earlier that this has been a pretty down year for just for offense. It feels like a lot of struggling to get over 100.
It feels just like last year, like very weird low scoring.
I feel like last year, I don't know if it was just my team last year, maybe, or some of my waiver wire pickups, but I just felt like it was easier for me to get the 120, 100,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. This year feels different, but just going over Manny's team real quick. Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, he has that Dallas stack going up against New York. They're also at home, which is pretty big. So, typically when I see teams go up against just depleted teams like this, like New York, and they're very depleted. I mean, their defense has played okay, I guess, but there's no offense to fight back.
No.
You're basically starting nobodies with Daniel Jones tearing his ACL, Tyrod Taylor on IR, Darren Waller on IR with the hammy. You got no wide receivers. They've never had wide receivers.
Nope.
Go figure. There's literally no one here. So if they don't put up a fight at all, I could see Tony Pollard scoring a couple touchdowns on a regression, positive regression game. CeeDee Lamb, you're not going to see him post up 200 yards. Not going to need to. In turn, Dak Prescott's not going to need to throw that much. This game could be over in the first half, and we could see Rico Daddle for the next, the last two quarters.
That would be very interesting for sure.
So, and he is a solid backup, a handcuff pickup. So, Deontay Johnson, I think this game has a better chance of being closer, just because Kenny Pickett is not the greatest, and if Jordan Love, he gets hot on a touchdown, or they score a touchdown first and it goes back and forth, then Deontay Johnson doesn't get phased out.
Yeah.
I said in the last video that I believed it was going to be a Najee Harris week for me personally, if I had to pick one of these Pittsburgh players. But if it's close, it could be both. It could be Najee finding the end zone and Deontay Johnson racking up receiving work.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I believe, who is it, Jair Alexander, if he shadows Deontay Johnson or not. So, and if he does, that'll kind of limit his upside also.
Also, we had was it George Pickens going out on social media or whatever, complaining about his usage. I don't think he gets a squeaky wheel game for acting immature or acting out like that. I think Mike Tomlin is a pretty, as much as he's a player's coach, he's pretty straight shooter.
Yeah.
I don't think he rewards, like, anytime Antonio Brown acted out, he never rewarded it.
No, Mike Tomlin has always been, you play good, you play. You don't play good, you don't play.
And that's one of the good things about the Steelers, is they've been consistent. Their ownership has been consistent. Fan base, the staff, the coaching, everything has been consistent. So even throughout all the years, um, which is pretty big. You have a good coach, so I think they'll be fine. We'll see if it could be a Deontay Johnson and Najee game. Going down to Cincy here versus Houston. We've already spoken about it on another video how this potentially is a pretty close game. It'll be interesting to see there. You mentioned that if T. Higgins is out, Mixon could get more work in.
Mhm.
I think either way, even if he's healthy, I believe Mixon has the most usage. Yeah.
Well, he's
Or one of
definitely
the
getting
most
more
used.
usage than he was early season. It's just
Mhm.
last year we saw there was like one or two games where Mixon popped off. I believe it was like he had one game where he popped off for like 50 something points. He had like 3 or 4 touchdowns. And so he's capable of being the workhorse. He's capable of having 25 plus touches. It's just, the Bengals, they have such a good passing offense that they don't need to rely on Mixon. But I feel like when they do utilize Mixon a little bit more, even if he's getting 15 to 20 touches, then their offense plays a lot better.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you always want to establish the run.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see with this one how this pans out. I know Houston has a pretty decent defense.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Rashad White's been playing pretty well as of late. Really, really solid. So Rashid White here. Tennessee has a good run defense, but Rashid White.
Rashad White.
See. Rashad White. Let's look at some of his stats here.
So last week he had 20 rush attempts for 73 yards and 2 TDs. He had also 4 targets and 4 receptions for 46 yards.
Say that again. How many touchdowns did you have?
2 touchdowns. 2 rushing touchdowns.
2 TDs.
Mm-hmm. So, and then the week prior, he also had 7 targets, 7 receptions for 70 yards. Not as much rushing usage, but I think that game they needed to utilize him more in the air game.
I was gonna say, look at the targets: 4 targets, 7 targets, 6 targets, 4 targets. Even on the low days, 3 targets, 5.
And I think I mentioned it to you before too. I don't remember if it was in a video or if we were talking off camera. At least as of last week, every single target he's had, he's caught almost every single one. He's only had 1 target that he hasn't caught, which is ridiculous. That's very efficient.
He was decent last year. I mean, I was trying to think back of all the players I had on my team last year that was on my final starting roster when I won. And I was trying to think back. I thought I had Rashad White. I had Lenny.
Gosh, dump
I
truck
believe
Lenny.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah. So I mean, it was Lenny getting all those checkdowns, and surprisingly, Baker Mayfield is checking down to him a lot. I don't remember that being the case with Chuba Hubbard in Carolina.
No.
Yeah. So this, I mean, and at the beginning when it was 2, 3, even 3, man, if you could get three targets consistently, that's decent. You get 5 here. Yeah, look at this. I think I read that wrong. 4, 7, 6, 4, 3, 3. Yeah, that's decent, man. Can't ask for more. So that should be decent there. So even if they're good against the rush, if he's using that receiving, that should be fine. Hawkinson here, he should be pretty solid. He's been stable for Minnesota. Now he has Josh Dobbs, better than what was it? Better than the backup that took over for Minnesota.
Oh yeah, I don't even remember his name now. Jalen something, but Josh Dobbs will target TJ Hawkinson like a madman.
Nico Collins. I know a lot of people are high on Nico Collins in the draft. For me right now, if I had to choose, I would choose Tank Dell over Nico Collins, just because Nico Collins has been in the league for 3 years now. We know what he is. Tank Dell kind of presents that upside
Yeah.
a little bit faster, quick twitch. I think of him when I think about high A dot and high, just longer kind of Mike Evans,
Hmm.
stretch the field type deal.
Yep.
So Nico Collins will be safe. That'll be, if this game's close, that'll be good. Again, whenever you have a game that's good, you want stacks of both sides of the game. So here you have Joe Mixon, Nico Collins. Should be really interesting to see there. Jahan Dotson, I thought that was an interesting pickup that he had. I was kind of bummed when Manny picked up Jahan Dotson a couple weeks ago, just because I wanted to pick him up. But again, with Darren Waller, some of the stuff that I had on my team,
Yeah, it was pretty rough to drop.
Yeah, it was tough to drop because I have IR with Kyron Williams, so it's like kind of have to keep Darren. If I drop Darrell Henderson, I'm basically giving someone, even without Matt Stafford, I'm giving someone an RB1.
Yeah,
potentially even in a touch.
I think Jahan Dotson, he can, I think he can get some pretty decent targets here. Seattle gives up quite a few points to the wide receiver. They are a little bit better on defense this year than they have been in the past couple of years. And that's definitely attributed to the defensive backs, the cornerbacks, the safeties that are helping out. But it's not like they're still playing the best defense.
I would just say that you have to wait and see with Curtis Samuel too, if he plays this week, just because one of the big contributing factors to Jahan Dotson is the fact that Curtis Samuel has been out. So,
yeah. And Curtis Samuel seems to be, what's his name? Sam Howell's one of his favorite red zone targets. So definitely, I agree. You have to take a look at if Jahan Dotson or if Curtis Samuel is going to be playing or not. If he is, you might want to look at benching him. Speaking of bench, if you bench him, I mean, you could swap him out for Javonte Williams. I think that would be a good swap right there.
Yeah, I mean, looking at his bench, there's, I saw him pick up Quentin Johnson last week with his Josh Palmer out on IR. Man, that's huge. Josh Palmer. Josh Palmer has been pretty solid for your Chargers there.
Yep.
And your Justin Herbert, but Javonte would be an interesting one. Calvin Ridley is boom bust, but you're kind of taking that risk with Jahan Dotson too. So that's interesting because we know that Jacksonville might, be playing from behind against San Fran. So interesting there. You're going to have some choices there to make. It really is interesting that Javonte Williams is projected for 12 points here, which is pretty high. Go figure. Another trade that I traded Javonte Williams for, what was it, Tank Dell, just on a sideways trade, and then trade Tank Dell away, and all I'm left with is Bijan Robinson.
All right, so let's move on to Michelle's team over here. She's currently starting, and I'm not sure. I don't remember if I said it. Again, as of this recording, it's Wednesday night. Michelle is currently starting Brock Purdy, Michael Thomas, Brandon Ayuk, Najee Harris, Ezekiel Elliott, Taysom Hill, Tyler Boyd, and an empty slot. So biggest thing, first of all, get a player into your flex spot here. You definitely need to play somebody, whether it's a second tight end or Drake London or Demario Douglas. You need to play somebody there. I think here Tyler Boyd could possibly be a pretty decent play if Jamar Chase is out, and or T Higgins if he's out. So keep an eye on that for sure. Besides that, what do you think, Shawn? How are you feeling with Michelle's team?
I like the fact that she picked up Brock Purdy, just to go with the Brandon Ayuk stack.
Yeah.
Mike Thomas put up that goose egg last week, but he's been pretty I mean, I don't know if your ceiling's that high for him, but it's been pretty solid
No.
with what 7 or 8 points.
Yeah,
Um,
it was the footballers, the fantasy footballers. I agree with them. Um, taking out last week, he's been pretty solid for a good 8.5 points per week.
yeah,
So I think,
yeah.
if you're looking for consistency, that's where you can go.
Yeah, if I mean, you need 7 points, he's gonna give you 7 points.
Hmm.
You need 20 points, he's
He's
gonna give
gonna
you
give you
7
7
points.
points. Yeah.
So, Najee Harris was a big one last week. So we'll see how that goes. Again, I think that one is going to be a Najee Harris game. Um, Elliott here. I mean, there's not really much else you could do. Play Elliott against Indy. They do take drives back and forth. Elliott will get one drive. Stevenson will get the other drive, and then Stevenson will either be in on 2-minute drills. I believe it was Khalil Herbert's coming back. So
Yeah.
that's going to be a huge timeshare where it's going to be Khalil Herbert, Devontae Foreman, and
Deshaun Johnson.
Rashawn Johnson. They're going up. It's going to be a big decision if you wanted to make that by tomorrow night. They're going up against Carolina. So I would typically like a running back against Carolina. It'll be interesting to see how Khalil Herbert fits in, but so I guess Elliott would be the safer one. You're competing with one other running back versus Foreman with two. You could go to the waiver wire, but it's pretty sparse. I don't think. Let's see who's on the waiver wire right now.
Not much.
It is. I mean, you want to look at Tyler Algier against Arizona. Typically, that would be a good one, especially with Bijan Robinson not really getting red zone looks. But then you can make the argument: is Bijan Robinson going to get a squeaky wheel game, even though he fumbled? Just because everyone's so on Arthur Smith against Arthur Smith. So even as I'm looking at my phone now, I'm still getting comments on the post I posted. There's Damian Pierce here. He's questionable. It's Justice Hill. Not really much here. So I mean, maybe Jamal Williams. If Kendre Miller's out, they're trying to get Jamal Williams a little bit more involved. His snap usage went up last week.
I'm not really feeling Jamal Williams just yet.
No, and like we said in, I believe, a previous video, we're talking about Minnie's pass rush.
Yeah.
So,
so speaking of Khalil Herbert, I just looked him up. He's currently still listed IR, but designated to return. He was listed as questionable in today's practice. So that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be back this week. It could still be next week.
So let's see, because let's look at, so Demario Douglas, that could be decent if he's healthy. I'd still probably go Drake London. I think will play, and it's against Arizona. So you're gonna put, let's say, Drake London in the flex there. Then you're debating whether to start Elliott or Foreman, most likely.
Yeah.
In that case, it's a toss-up. Maybe Foreman if it's only Foreman and Rashawn Johnson. I would say Foreman, because at that case you might have it Foreman 60, Rashawn Johnson 40.
Yeah.
Or goal line Foreman, passing downs Rashawn Johnson.
Yeah.
So
yeah, definitely have some very interesting decisions to be making here. I would still look to be making some moves, whether it's waiver wire ads or trades. There's definitely certain things that can help benefit your team for sure. All right, but that'll be it for this week 10 preview. Good luck to you both, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.